Live. Good evening. This is Nicholas Tanek from YourKinkyFriends.com. I have a wonderful guest with me tonight. Oh, we're going to get into some stuff. We're going to talk about the kink community. We're going to talk about throwing parties. We're going to talk about masochism and sadism and photography and some burlesque and, music, polyamory. We're going to talk about toys and even fire dancing. Please welcome the magnificent Naughtia Fleur. Say hi.
Hello.
All right, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, I am Naughtia Fleur. I'm a lifestyle switch, slave. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you very much for coming. Well, let's get, best way to start is at the beginning. The first time you're out as a kinky person, was it just with one other person? Was it at a party? Was it at a dungeon, a munch, or what?
It was actually at an event about 3 hours away from where I live, and I still live in the same place, 19 years ago at a play party. I really had never heard of kink. I just heard that you could be yourself at these things, so hey, why not? So off I went and ventured to a play party.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. I might have missed it. Did you know anybody, or are you just like...
I did not. I did not know of the existence of kink. I did not know of the existence of any of this. All I knew was that you could go be yourself. It was just a party that people could go if you had an alternative presentation, if you had an alternative way of conducting your life, that you could do so at this party, and no one would judge you for it. And I thought, hey, awesome. So that's what led me to it.
The first munch I ever went to was alone. Someone I was supposed to go with kind of stood me up at the last minute, and I was right outside the restaurant, and I just decided I'll just do it. And I'm glad, because I've been to many munches ever since, and I write about them in my book, Your Kinky Friends. Plug. Oh, behind me, I must say, this is the new Orc Girl. It's a comic book that Amy Mercury, my friend Amy Mercury, who does like clown porn and strict mommy porn and stuff like that. She has a comic book that she puts out, so check it out. Just came out today, and Your Kinky Friends is in it. Well, there's like a picture of us at the beginning, not part of the story though. All right, so according to FetLife, you are submissive seeking a sadist for scene play. How's that going?
It's going good. It is always a challenge for a masochist seeking any specific kind of sadist. That's been my experience within the last 19 years anyway. I'm a bit of an edge player. I kind of play on the outside edge of masochism a little bit into the extreme realm. And that's a little bit more difficult to find. I was lucky, and we'll get into this a little bit more in depth, but I was lucky to find my master, who is a renowned sadist. But yes, always looking around for sadistic and masochistic experiences, and sometimes those are more difficult to find on the fringes.
Definitely. One of the masochists who I know, the female ones, especially the female ones, it's you get these doms who are just like barking orders, or just don't even have like a relationship, or there's an etiquette to it. You know what I mean? In FetLife.
Yes, sometimes that dynamic is hard to break into.
Definitely. So let's talk about masochism. What, off the top of your head, what is one of the most masochist things you've ever experienced?
Well, it's a long time ago. There was a sadist that came to an event that I was at, and I had known of him through the channels, and he had this one specific toy that he says, everyone's afraid of this toy. No one will use this toy with me. And I'm thinking, I'm your Huckleberry, So he pulls this thing out, and it's a flogger embedded with barbed wire pieces. And I'm like, okay, all right, let's try it. I still have a few light scars from that scene, but it was an amazing scene. There was blood everywhere. It was awesome. But that was definitely amongst my top 5. Now that was years ago. More recently, I found a group of friends that like to play on that fringe as well. But that's probably one of the most masochistic experiences I've had.
Nice. Okay, so now when it comes to like blood and the whole masochism thing, what how do you keep it safe?
Well, you try to make sure that you're playing with people that are well versed in the care and feeding of their own toys, and that they have a good understanding of you, the bottom or the masochist. And once you have that in place, that's your ability to stay within either SSC, safe, sane, consensual, or RAC, risk-aware, consensual kink, to stay within those guidelines. If I'm within those guidelines, whether I have an advocate that I'm playing with, that's watching the scene, that's observing the scene, or whether I'm just relying on SSC and RAC to keep me safe, you're pretty much you're pretty well controlled within that.
Okay. Now you've been sadistic yourself though, correct?
I am a switch. I don't switch dominant submissive. I am very submissive, but I am a sadist. So I have to kind of split the BD and the SM. But as far as the S&M goes, I am both sadistic and masochistic. So yes, I do enjoy topping and of course bottoming.
All right. So just like the masochism line, question: what is one of the most sadistic things you've ever done?
Well, I do have a few experiences with edge scenes as a sadist. I did have a gentleman actually up on one of my crosses, just very heavy restraint scene. He had never been taken to this edge of subspace. He was one of these folks that came up and said, "I don't think you can put me in subspace." And I said, "I think you're wrong." So we had some fun with that. And I got him in some very heavy restraints, did just a load of impact, and then ended up using violet wand and some wax play and some other things on him after all this skin was nice and red. And he said that was the most intense experience of his life. And as far as intensity goes, it was not necessarily a huge scene to watch, but for him, he said the effect lasted weeks. Said it was just an amazing thing.
Nice. You proved him wrong.
I proved him wrong, yes. Score one for the switches.
So let's talk about Grey Wolf's den parties in North Carolina.
Yes, Grey Wolf's Den, Charlotte.
Yeah, tell us about that. How did you get involved in it, and what's it like?
So Grey Wolf's Den is a scene house. It's an event venue in Charlotte, North Carolina. I am a member of the house there. My master and my sister own the place, and I serve as house slave there at these events and at that house. And we have 2 dungeons. We have Sibian activity. We have pool for casual enjoyment. We just completed a new patio structure that has a whipping post involved with it. We host between 80 and 150 people, depending on what time of year it is. I do fire dancing out there. We do just all manner of kinky things. So yeah, we've started doing that. It's every month, usually second Saturday, but all the information on that's on FetLife, of course. And yeah, we actually have made that a kind of a theme with what you can see behind me, Naugtia's Toy Box. That is my own scene house that I am starting closer to me in Asheville. So,
oh, sweet.
We actually have 2 very similar things here in the central and western North Carolina region. So
these parties, are they invite only? I mean, because like you're bringing someone into your space, or so I mean that could be tricky for people you don't know. It could be dangerous. It could be, what steps do you take? And you don't have to like give the secrets out, but like generally.
No, it's no secret at all. We're actually posting this as common knowledge on FetLife anyway. And, we have vetting processes in place. Basically, we're going to, meet you, talk to you before you know what our address is, and that's kind of our first line of defense against folks that are not exactly, not exactly true with their intentions of seeking out a kinky venue. So we want to make sure that people that they either know what they're doing, or they're just looking for training. What part of the lifestyle are they into? Do we know these people from other places? What's their FetLife presence? What's their, things like that. There's things that would clue us in that these people are safe, and folks that we want to have come to our private residences to play with us, you know. So there are some places involved, but we have a vetting process. Once the vetting process is through, then we actually will invite them into our places, and once they're been through one party, then they become members of the house if everything went well. So, and once they're members, then they can they're able to bring guests of their own. They're able to vouch for other new members that come in based on their reputation. So it's a chain.
Great. So I've been to dungeon parties and private parties and stuff like that. But let's say hypothetically, it's my first time. All right. What would you say? What would you give? What advice would you give for etiquette when you step in?
Sure. So we have a long procedure of telling new folks what is involved with coming to a party, how we expect folks to act, how to use the equipment, how to properly, improperly use the equipment, to quote my master, everything that you might need to know to interact with people at the parties. But the main rule of thumb: keep everything safe, sane, and consensual, and use the same etiquette you would use with any other party, lifestyle or not. Nobody wants to commit a party foul. So when you come into these venues, there's always that orientation. Pay attention to the orientation, and you're going to be just fine.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about toys and furniture. Toys and furniture. So you make the toys yourself, or
I do. I actually have a toy making business, Heartwood's Furniture. That is a toy and furniture design company. I actually sell everything I make, and one of the reasons that my lifestyle involvement has been so in depth. I mean, this is life. Kink is life. Everything else just kind of has to fit in between. But that's one of the reasons I've been able to stay so successful within the kink lifestyle, is because I have this toy business that I'm able to further its involvement. So
now, can you describe some of these toys and what's your favorite one?
Absolutely. So I'll start with the toys. I actually have a small example of something. So this is probably not going to look like much on the video. This is a piece of electrical cable, service entrance cable for those of the technical vein. But what this does when in the hands of a sadist is I put this on a handle, and this becomes either a sjambok or a flexible cane, depending on how you want to describe it. I've heard it described a few different ways, but my name for it is Sparky. Now, Sparky is one of the most sadistic toys that I've ever developed and I've ever had contact with, either as a bottom or a top. Most of the sadists that I have encountered will say you need about 30 to 40% of your arm strength, and that's about all anybody's going to take of that thing. So that's a great what I call lazy sadist toy, which I'm a big fan of. And two, it's something that is really unique for the Heartwoods line. And then I do a lot with furniture as well. I don't have any here with me just because it's so large, but one of the claims to fame that I have in furniture is something called the LFP, or the Fleur Proof series. I'm probably, as a bottom, best well known as the girl that breaks things. Well, two things. One, the girl with the tattoos in her armpits, and two, the girl that breaks things. One or the other. What's that?
Didn't that hurt? The armpit.
Nah, it's not that bad.
Yeah, you're a masochist. It doesn't matter.
I'm probably not the person you want to ask about that. I'm just saying. But I've made these steel welded structures that I have yet to be able to break. And once I have seen on them a few times and have yet to break them, they become the Fleur Proof series. So they've been tested by me personally. So love the testing process too. It's highly recommend it. But yes, I created a few lines of furniture. One of them is just a kind of a beauty type product that call it Beautiful Submission. It's a highly decorative wood structure, a lot of engraving, a lot of inlay work, things like that. I'll inlay Triskelions or, you know, the top's initials or the bottom's initials or whatever into these crosses and benches and things like that. And another one is my convertible series that is you can basically take an end table, turn it into a spanking bench, and then put it back as an end table for those that have kids or need to hide their kink. and then I have the floor proof, which is just if you want a piece of dungeon furniture that's going to be there long after you're gone, that's the one you want. So yeah, just everything in between. And I sold on Etsy for quite a while, but then I've actually shut that down in favor of a new website that's going to be launching very soon. Already have the domain, it's heartwoodsfurniture.com. So
nice.
Shameless plug.
send me the link, even though it's not active right now. But when someone watches this in the future,
oh yeah, there's just a placeholder right now, but it's coming soon.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Now, do you get like custom made either furniture or toys? Like custom?
Everything I do is custom made. There's a few products that I'll make for stock, but most of the time people won't deal with me for non-custom stuff. They want something that has engravings, initials, something like that in it, or they want something that's more non-traditional or something like that. I'm 100% custom, so I don't make anything until you order it. So I have some representative samples, but very few. So a lot of times people's projects are their own little heart and soul, so they don't necessarily want me to put their pictures of their furniture out on the internet. So a lot of times I just have generic representative samples available.
Well, the holidays are coming up, people.
Exactly.
So,
Yes.
Naughtia.
That's right. Naughtia at heartwoodsfurniture.com.
Yeah. So, okay. One thing that you're into is photography.
I do.
Yeah. So, okay. Digital versus film. What do you like better?
I am a big fan of digital. I love Photoshop. I love post-production. So yes, digital's my jam. I did move over from film. I still have my color darkroom and in its state of decay, I'm sure, but I still have it. but yeah, I really did embrace the digital revolution when it came out. So
okay, Canon or Nikon?
I am a Canon girl. I think that one of my frames that I shot with film was a Canon. So it was just a natural shift to go over to the lenses that already had the body, or the body that already had the lenses for. So when I wanted to go digital, I went to Canon.
Okay,
and I actually shoot an APS-C, so I don't shoot full frame.
Oh, okay. Now, for someone who wants to get started out in photography, what camera would be good for them?
So what I've noticed from a lot of folks here lately is they'll get the Canon, like the Rebel series. These are available, at department stores, places like that. You don't have to go to a brick and mortar photo camera store anymore. And then work up from there, because a lot of the lenses are the same lenses you'll use in like go from a Canon Rebel T7 to a 70D or a T8 to a 80, whatever it is. That they're able to incrementally increase that technology and still have some pieces left they don't have to replace. So
okay, so let's talk burlesque.
okay.
You do burlesque dancing. I interview many burlesque performers, experienced and brand new to it.
Sure.
So everybody's got. First of all, what was your very first performance like?
Well, my tattoos were not the only butterflies. I was definitely nervous when I first stepped up on the stage, but it was I wasn't new to performing. I had performed before, but performing in my hometown, in front of a hometown crowd, and performing the way I perform, it was something that it was something new. And anytime anything new, I was a little apprehensive. But once I got on stage, the music starts, everything's great.
Was it just you? I mean, because there's always these different styles. You got the classic burlesque. You have nerdlesque, as they say, where they're like dressed up as like R2D2 or Spider-Man or whatever. Then you have like gorelesque, which are people like, I interviewed this one woman who rolls around in glass and staples dollar bills to her body. Just covers herself with blood. And so I mean, there's so many different types of styles. What would you say your style is?
Well, my style is one I call kinky-lesque.
Okay.
Imagine that if you could. It's a type of neo-burlesque that it's everything has a kinky flair. So one of my acts that I first developed was an act I call symbiosis. Symbiosis is a act that's a split. So half of my wardrobe is black, the other half is pink. The pink side is my submissive side, the black side is the dominant side, and it's basically working through the dominant, submissive, or top-bottom roles within the same person. It's basically the graphic depiction of a switch, and that was the first act I ever developed. Was that act, and it was a great thing. I mean, I'm really putting my lifestyle out there, something that is so close to me, and able to put that out in a burlesque context that maybe someone outside the lifestyle that has only seen I don't know, books, TV, things like that about kink, and then my act gets introduced about this person embodying both dominant and submissive roles, top and bottom roles, things like that. So one of the first things I do in that act is I walk out and crack a whip on stage, and the whole front row's toes go underneath their seats. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun to watch people's reaction that have never. I don't always have lifestyle members in the audience. I'll put it that way.
Now, do you know Ursa Major? She's from.
I do know Ursula.
Yeah, she's great. I interviewed her. She was she's wonderful, delightful.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Absolutely. She graduated the same school that I did for my burlesque training. So.
Okay. Now, Miss Charmis, who is a burlesque performer, she always talks about the art of tease and denial.
Yes.
In burlesque. So, how do you integrate that into your performances?
So, denial is pretty much given because, consent. But the tease factor is huge in burlesque. Basically, I'm going to go out, and as I'm stripping, it's glorified stripping. As I'm stripping, I'm basically showing what I want to show to the audience in a way that I've got in my head that's going to be either graphically or, with the music or whatever, that it's going to only display what I want it to display. I want people's imagination still involved, still in drive the whole time that I'm up there performing on stage. And even within the kinky acts, and I do a nerdlesque act too, where I portray Harley Quinn. So kind of the same thing. Even though people know what's coming, I want to still have that just a little bit of degree of control to say that, okay, this is something that I wanted to display in just this very small increments. And then at the very end, you're left with pasties and panties, with still leaving just that much to the imagination.
And that's what I mean. I'm not saying anything against strippers at all, because they work hard, and so many of them are wonderful and amazing. But if I had to choose between just like strippers or burlesque, I would always choose burlesque because I love the pageantry of it, the imagination and the creativity of it.
Yes.
I was watching. Oh my God, I'm obsessed with Bob Fosse, and the movie All That Jazz, and the miniseries Fosse Verdon, and because he comes from burlesque background and all that stuff. Like I that from a little kid, I used to watch that shit.
I understand.
Okay, so teasing around. Do you have a favorite outfit in burlesque?
I do. What I'm wearing now, and I know it's hard to see, but a corset and skirt is very burlesque to me.
Oh, yeah.
Just an overbust corset that accentuates that classic burlesque look of the narrower waist, the bigger bust, and then finishing that out with the skirt on bottom. That's my favorite type of outfit, and almost all the acts that I've developed and that I'm even working on have kind of started with that base. What do I need for a corset? What do I need for a skirt? Now, how can I get it? How can I take it off? How can I sexually take this off?
Okay, so we're gonna do BDSM on a budget. That's gonna be later. But
Okay.
burlesque, you know, corsets cost money. Makeup
They
costs money.
do.
Shoes and everything like that costs money. So, what are some ways someone getting into burlesque who doesn't have the money to like go all out and spend a lot on their performance and their outfit? Any advice?
Absolutely. Well, I'm a seamstress, so it kind of comes a little bit easier for me. I make all my own outfits, things like that, and with the ability to make toys and things like that, I can make a lot of my own feather fans and props and things like that. But uh, a lot of times, I'll start my search for costuming at Goodwill, at thrift stores, Salvation Army's thrift store, things like that. It's a thrift store. You're going to pay pennies on the dollar for what these things cost originally. And even though you've got to have a little vision, but if you can envision what you want in this piece that you're seeing on the rack, you're there. So once you've done that a couple times, it becomes it almost becomes a search to try to do this as inexpensively as possible.
Yep.
So
I'm
that can,
surprised. Do you make you can make like custom made dresses for sissies?
oh sure, I
Yeah.
actually have.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Yeah, I
So,
actually have done
all right. One of the things is when I say weird or strange, I mean it in a good way. It doesn't necessarily have to be good, but what is one of the weirdest, strangest, or most unique performances you've seen in burlesque?
that. Well, let's see. Well, I'm kind of drawn to the weird and the strange,
Yeah, me too.
being as I am. But I did see one time a hook suspension, a flesh hook suspension during a burlesque show. The dancer actually had a flesh suspension hooks already in her back, so she came out hooked into a harness and was raised up above the stage for. That was her big reveal. As she basically got her last item of clothing off and was left with pasties and panties, she goes up into flesh hook suspension at the end of it.
Wow.
Amazing show.
Now, what about music? I mean, do you go the classical route? Do you go the rock route? Do you go like the
I go
soul?
more the rock and pop route. Rihanna, she does a lot of stuff in that kinky vein. Symbiosis, the one I was talking about before, is to S&M. It's a version of it that I've kind of put some cues in for me. I added some more added some more of that in. As I was cracking the whip, I needed somebody to react. So I do a lot with Demi Lovato, a lot of pop and electronic. I need the big heavy basses and things like that. And I also do some with industrial metal. I know I do one act to Jenna Torturers. So
Okay, interesting. All right, we're famous here. Now, support groups. Oh, wait, no,
mhm.
support groups. Fire dancing.
Oh, fire dance.
Tell us about that. What does that involve? Like,
So
like you have poles that are on fire, and or sticks, or what?
yes, short answer yes. I actually make most of my fire dancing equipment. I have dragon staffs, I have batons, I have fire fans, fire whips. Fire whips I didn't make; I bought those. But quite a few things that we're just lighting on fire, trying to get some rotations going and make the fire dance while I'm dancing with it. So think of it as burlesque while you're carrying things that are on fire. So it's a very burlesque movement. It's a very sensual movement, the way, or at least the way some do it. The way I do it, I try to put as much sensuality in it as possible, and then add in, say, elements of fire breathing or elements of a dragon staff or things like that that are going to that are really going to add some punch to a lot of what I'm doing there.
Now, how do you keep it safe? I mean, like, first of all, you can get burned, someone else can get burned, or the whole place could go up in flames. So, like, how do you make sure that doesn't happen?
Well, we actually have some safety measures in place. We have fire blankets that you can throw over someone. You just make sure it's large and doesn't have holes in it. That's happened. But throw a fire blanket over someone that's on fire, that's her hair's caught on fire, or whatever, and it'll be put out. So we have spotters that are at the shows, especially. Sometimes during rehearsals, you kind of live life a little more on the edge, but I always try to have a spotter when I've got things lit, when I'm actually spinning or dancing or whatever I'm doing. One of my sisters is very good at poi, fire dancing, and we always try to watch each other's backs when we're performing and things like that. So yeah, I mean, there's dangers, there's inherent risks. You're like with fire breathing. I've got a mouthful of paraffin. Don't swallow that. When I'm spinning the dragon staff above my head, this is 19 pounds. It's on fire on each end. That's a problem, or it could be, if it gets out of control. So yeah, you practice as much as you can with things not lit. You make sure that you are trying to contend with everything that might happen. Make sure you have your cues, you have your safety person, fire extinguishers, things like that. Wet your hair down before you start.
I would imagine practicing is outside usually.
Generally, yes. I actually, as part of the toy box here, I actually am building a structure now that will allow me to do indoor fire dance practice.
Wow.
I've put a cross ventilation system in that will allow me to practice indoors, which is going to come in handy for this time of year when I'm sure with you up north, you know all about the cold weather. I'm not going to get out there in the corset and short skirt and try it in 30 degrees. so yeah, I can definitely. I'm definitely glad to be getting my practice space involved now. So
that's cool. So you are involved in support groups, correct?
I am in support groups. Yes, I lead a couple of support groups here in my hometown, and I provide quite a bit of support online with other folks that are either part of the group or know that I've been in for a while or things like that. And we do everything from support with sub drop, with top drop, with being kink shamed, for example. We had a big discussion on everyone being kink shamed not too long ago in one of our support groups, and this happens all the time. It's the BDSM lifestyle has its own set of challenges associated with it, and that's, I feel that my role, or one of my roles within the lifestyle, is to help others get through those hurdles that might knock them out of the lifestyle. Something that they might not know how to navigate on their own, or just want to ask somebody else. Look, how did you navigate your first time when you had sub drop, or when somebody said, look, you're kink stupid, or that's crazy, or whatever. What did you do that first time? And I love answering those questions because it's something I had been through and was lucky enough to continue on through it. So,
and that's what we're trying to do here, and I'm very thankful.
Yes, absolutely.
And but you said something cop drop. I'm not familiar with that.
Top drop. Yes, top. So just
top drop. Oh, I thought you said cop drop, like getting in trouble with law. I'm sorry. Okay, so all right. Obviously, you are out as a kinky person. It's a lifestyle choice. It's how did your friends and family deal with it?
So friend-wise, I really don't have many friends that are outside of the community.
Yeah, me neither.
So
they're all kinky.
Yeah, almost everyone I know at this point is in the community, or at least friendly to the community. So that's definitely a big help for someone like me who is not going to get much more out with her kinkiness. But family-wise, for the most part, those that are aware are supportive, just because they know it's part of who I am, or part or more of who I am. The ones that are not as friendly with it know enough and will leave it at that. They don't really want to know anymore. And I'm a big proponent of not drawing people into your scene, not drawing people into your kink, things like that. And so for me to push it on them, as anything more than what it is, just part of who I am, would be wrong of me to do so, in my opinion. So that's
I
why.
feel the same way. I feel the same way. I don't push it on it. If they ask, I'll be honest and I'll tell the truth about everything. But I'm not like, I'm not like shoving it in their face. All right. So you have a master.
I do.
Okay. I'm always curious about how kinky people meet. So how did you meet your master?
So I met Master on FetLife, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I was actually searching out and just looking for scenes, looking for fun stuff, and I actually happened across one of his pages on one of the groups on FetLife. So we started talking and ended up meeting and kind of went from there, and we hit it off, pun intended. We hit it off very well. We actually hit it off very well, and his slave at the time, who's now my sister, we hit it off really well. We're both riggers. We're both, we had a lot in common. So, the rest is kind of history. I ended up becoming a member of the house and member of the Poly family, and just it was kind of amazing the way that things transpired to get us to this point. I was without a master at the time. I've had a lot of callers in my time. I've actually had quite a few, up in the teens, I'll put it that way, of different masters and mistresses over the years, and for one reason or another, it's fell apart. Distance, play styles, just different things. I had one person tell me one time, if you go more than 2 months in a master-slave relationship, it's going to last forever, and I started believing that after my first 4 or 5 experiences, but anyway, it's not true. They're built on much more than that. But yes, I'm very happy with my master, and at last report, he's happy with me. So.
And you're in a polyamorous relationship.
I am polyamorous with my master, my sisters, and we have a poly family there. And yes, we have a pack as well. And one thing about polyamory, and this is a very good place to plug this, PolyChat. We have kind of been working, and Master and my sister have been working for a long time on defining terms for polyamory, because polyamory is a very broad term.
Yeah, oh yes.
So what he and she have done is they've taken some different suffixes and attached to the word poly to make it a little more defined. So polyagapia is one of the terms that they came up with, and it's basically what most people think of as polyamory. These are partners. So polyagapian partners that are sharing their love as deep as they would with any other partner within them. And then there's polyphilian. I think like Philadelphia, brotherly love type things. Polyphilia, that's what you'd have like with a pack or house members. And I have a very large pack. I think there's 24 members in it right now. That all are members of this big pack, and then there's also polyerotica. Polyerotic relationships are something where I'm going to be in a relationship as a play partner with this person, but that's as deep as we're going to go with it. We're going to play at parties, we're going to play at events, we're going to play, maybe I go to their house and play, they come to my house and play, but that's it. We don't have a romantic connection. We don't have a lot other than that associated. So we kind of tried to separate that out, but they host a podcast, Poly Chat with the Wolfpack. It's available on YouTube. They can explain it much better than I can, but yes, that's something that we definitely have a huge involvement in.
I want to check. I'll check that out. I'll check that podcast out. Yeah, hook me up.
Absolutely.
Hook me up. I'll bet. Yeah, we could be on here. I could be on there. It'd be great. Start one big podcast family.
Love it.
All right. So how does that? I know a lot of people who haven't been in polyamorous relationships. It's like nonsense to them. It's something that they just can't wrap their head around.
Right. Yes.
So how do you make it work? What's the key to making a polyamorous relationship? With multiple people, not just one or two, not just just with how do you make it? What's the key to making something like that?
So strong foundations is the biggest part of it, and one of the best foundation builders in polyamory is something called compersion. Um, Compersion is one of the made-up words, kind of like polyamory, polyagapia, polyerotica, all these other words. But compersion, basically described as the opposite of jealousy. It's being happy for your partner to have what your partner is having with another partner. So, in other words, I am person C and person A and B in my pod, or in my quad, in my poly family, in my polycule. These people are having something. I don't know. They're going out to eat. They're having sex. It doesn't matter. Whatever they're doing, as a member of that poly family, my job really is to be happy for them,
Yeah.
and not to be like, well, I wish it was me having sex with person A instead of person B having sex with person A. But if I have my level of compersion attached and I am happy for them, then that's going to come back to me, many times over. And that's the thing. If people always ask me that question because they've been in poly or they've heard of poly or they're this and they're that, how do you make these things continue to work? And it's all about compersion. It's all about being happy with what you've got. Now there's also that point that says, well, hell, I've not been looked at in 6 months. Well, that's another problem. But looking at the big picture, step back, look at the big picture, and look at and see as a family unit, what's going on. Am I getting the fulfillment from this polyamorous relationship that I need, or am I thinking jealously?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
No,
and that's where compersion comes in, and it's not an easy thing to do, and it's not something you can introduce overnight to a polycule that's never done it before, but it's definitely something that keeps a lot of polyamorous relationships healthy.
definitely. I have the same attitude, and it's weird because it's like I remember when I was married, and we weren't really that kinky. Like most I did was like tie her up, and I was like, I want to let's be kinky, and I was like, let's bring in other people. She's like, what? I'm like, you could see other people too, like I'll be happy for you. It'd be great.
Yes.
Like, just tell me about it.
Right. Yes.
All about it. All right. So the kink rabbit hole goes deep. I mean, you are into many, many things. So am I. Like, for example, I never thought that I would actually own an actual straitjacket and a custom-made chastity device. So like you never know where you're gonna go, and there's so many avenues you can go down.
Sure.
So what are some new things that you're interested in, or that you're just experiencing, or that you want to try but you haven't?
So at this point, and like you say, with a lot of experience in the lifestyle, it kind of becomes it doesn't ever become mundane. If it is, you're probably doing it wrong. But but I really want to continue the depths of. I want to keep exploring the depths of my depravity. Basically, I want to continue. Yes, I want to continue learning rigging. That's something that I feel you can just never be that full-on expert at. And that's something I really enjoy having is, being in that position of always able to learn from other riggers that come to events and things like that. Learning together at rope share events, things of that nature. So that's a big place I want to continue to grow. And also, just always finding that next scene. The energy is always different from a masochist perspective. The energy is kind of why I'm doing this. And I need to find that next person that I'm going to get a different level of energy. I'm going to give them a different level of energy, so that exploration's always been huge. And then just continuing this whirlwind of working in the toy industry, and finding that next super sadistic device that is just going to be like, oh wow, this was it. I'm an industrial engineer in vanilla life, so when I first looked at a piece of this service entrance cable and I said, wow, that would hurt. I want one. That's all it took.
I feel it from here.
that next thing might be tomorrow. So I really enjoy having that as something at least experience with, is looking at something in a completely different light and saying, I could kink that.
Definitely. All right. All right. Well, I want to talk about being submissive and a masochist. I mean, there are reasons I'm a switch myself. And one of the reasons that I like being submissive is that I don't have to make any decisions.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's just one of many things. So, but like one of the things, like I don't have to make any decisions because I'm pretty dominant in my everyday life. But what is it about being submissive and also being masochist that attracted you so much to it?
So there's really two different points there. I'm going to put a pin in the masochism for a second and talk about submissiveness. So submissiveness, by and large, like I say, I'm an industrial engineer in my vanilla life. I run the business. I actually own 5 businesses right now. And it's something where I have to have that nth degree of control over everything or everything falls apart.
Oh, yeah.
It's just me. It's a one-woman show every which way I look. So
your taxes will be exhausting.
oh, it's exhausting. It's very, yes. And, just having the scheduling and the, parts availability, customer contacts, emails, making sure that I'm putting my toy business out there, my industrial engineering firm out there, my photography, my boudoir stuff, making sure the burlesque stays going, the production company's happy. Everything is good, having to have that much control over everything. I love not having to have anything except for, slave, do this. Yes, master. That's a huge thing for me, and something that allows me to reset. It allows me the freedom. There's a freedom in bondage.
Oh,
And
definitely.
it's very oxymoronic, but there's a freedom in bondage of that. And, not to mention my other kinks of restraint. Restraint's a huge kink for me. And, when I am at the den, I sleep in the cage. I build a sleeping cage. That's where I sleep. That's my bedroom. There's things like that that allow me both my subservient nature to be really quelled and to increase my to decrease my need to be in control.
Now, curious, when in the cage sleeping, like, do you have a pillow or a cover, or is it just
I do. Yes, I do. I'm a little softy when it comes to that because, if I don't, then my back's a crazy amount of sore. And then trying to move and fire dance with a sore back doesn't look sexy.
Yeah.
so there's yeah, exactly. I'll be trying to get out of the way of my own arms when I can't move anymore. It's just eventually your body's going to tell you can't do that. So anyway, then there's masochism. Now masochism in the way that I do it, and my kind of my brand of masochism is, like I said before, it's a little on the edge. It's a little out on the extreme side of things, and it's a way that I can turn my mind off. It's different than submission. Submission, my mind stays engaged. I'm just doing as I'm told. I'm doing things that are for the betterment of, to the pleasure of master. That's why I do submission. Now, why I do masochism though? Masochism is something where I can be up on the cross, I'll be tied off, I can be on a spanking bench, can't move, I'm restrained, which is also a big thing for me. But I'm there, I can't move, I have all this huge rush of energy coming into me, and I can completely let my mind turn off. All of a sudden, I'm in subspace. That's the one time in my life that I can actually let my mind completely go. So it's a euphoric thing to be in that position. I can get there some by topping, by being sadistic, but being a masochist and being in an edge scene or in an extreme masochism scene and having absolutely no control, but just receiving all this energy, receiving energy. Eventually my mind goes into euphoria, and it's huge. It's such a they sound similar, but they're very different things.
Oh, of course, yeah, definitely. All right, BDSM on a budget. I highly recommend if people have the money, please go out and support, quality BDSM equipment, clothing, toys, you name it. Naughty Little Fleurs. What's your name of your company?
Heartwood's Furniture.
Okay.
Yes, Heartwood's,
Um,
Heartwood's
and
Furniture.
we'll get the links there. But not everybody has the means, the money to,
Yes,
for all that stuff. And it's not just products. There could be just ways of doing things. So what are
absolutely.
some ways, you can still be kinky and not break your bank?
Absolutely. I love pervertibles. Love pervertibles. So that's one thing that me and my master share a lot is you don't have to spend a ton of money to have fun in a kinky vein. Now, especially my specialty is more impact play, as I'm sure you've gathered by now. But within impact play, you can take rope, tie a bunch of knots in it, and you've got yourself a really nice way to do impact play.
Even colorful too.
Oh yeah, pink and purple is kind of my jam. Is yeah, pink and purple. But yeah, this can be a very sadistic little toy depending on how you use it. Yeah, this is 2 pieces of rope about 8 feet long, tied into bunches and bunches of square knots. That's it. If you're really adventurous, I'm sure you can think of other things to do with this. Uh, but yeah, I mean that cost me a couple pieces of rope. That's it, and I actually have made this into a sellable toy by putting a handle on this end and using this as kind of a flogger of sorts. But anyway, yeah, hardware stores, best friend, definitely with kink on a budget, not only for the restraint but for one of the favorites amongst us at the den is a grill cleaning brush. There's a curve in the back of a grill cleaning brush that fits an ass just perfectly. Then you have all the scratchiness on the front side of it. You have all kinds of fun stuff with that. I can go to the hardware store, buy myself a sawhorse and a yardstick, and I got myself a spanking bench and a paddle. So I've spent very little money, but I've got something that can be very profound depending on the scene. I mean, it's more the scene at that point than it is the toy. So one of the things that I learned in engineering school and working as an industrial engineer was tools don't make the mechanic. It's kind of the same way. Toys don't make the sadist. You can have a sadist with 4 or 5 items in his or her bag that is well versed in using them, that will make a much more profound scene for a bottom than someone who has a bag full of toys and no clue how to use them. So yeah, definitely. Kitchen pervertibles. Cutting boards are awesome. They're
Yeah.
flat cutting boards. Yeah, got handles on them. Yeah, yeah. There's all kinds of things in there. Use a cheese grater you can use a cheese grater as a vampire glove. Used to do that all the time. I recommend you don't press too hard, or you're going to have blood whether you want blood or not. But yeah, I mean, there's just all kinds of things within the hardware store and home center type aisles that you can play with in a kinky vein. It's great.
I wonder, those things that like you're baking a cake and you go.
Oh yeah. The egg beaters, yeah.
Yeah, the egg beater. Yeah, the egg beater. So, I'm sure there's a way to use that. Probably with the nipples.
I think we can have fun with that. You and I should talk later.
All right, rapid fire recommendations, and they don't have to be kink related. Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. So, I mean, I know this is your kinky friends. They don't have to be kink related at all. Recommend a movie.
Princess Bride.
Oh, it's amazing. Well,
I know, right?
And you know what? Every time I'm sick and I'm like stuck in bed, like, yeah, I put that movie on, and it does. It makes me feel better.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, movies, definitely anything by Stanley Kubrick or Mel Brooks, depending on
God, yeah, you are
where I want to go with that.
Yeah,
if I want modern movies, I'm watching one of the 23 Avengers movies. So
Stanley Kubrick, one of the movies that first of course there's Full Metal Jacket, and then Clockwork Orange is my favorite.
Yeah, Clockwork Orange is my favorite as well.
Yeah, Clockwork, that's just amazing. He got like death threats because of that. Yeah.
He did. Didn't bother him, but yeah.
Yeah. And well, yeah, even Eyes Wide Shut. Even like some people think it's, but like it's a deep movie.
Yeah, very deep.
Yeah. And then when it comes to Mel Brooks, Blazing Saddles, and Young Frankenstein
Yes,
is
Young Frankenstein.
a masterpiece. It's Madeline Kahn. Oh my God.
His Robin Hood take.
Yeah, like the Men in Tights. Yeah.
Yes, that was one of my favorites.
In Blazing Saddles, Richard Pryor was supposed to play the sheriff.
Oh yeah.
And he wrote it. That movie like went like especially like when we're dealing with race and racism in America and stuff like that. Like that took it to a whole new level. That was awesome. Yeah. Okay, so recommend a song.
A song. Well, let's see. What is? I just heard one again for the first time. You know how sometimes you have this favorite song and then all of a sudden it goes away?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Raising Hell by Kesha. It has such an awesome little beat to it. It's a very short song. I actually heard this for the first time again the other night, and I'm like, this is going to be either a burlesque or a fire number very quickly. So yeah, that was a huge one. There's just so many good songs that it's just hard to really put a hard recommendation out there. Rough Sex, Lords of Acid.
Oh yeah, the Love Lord Acid.
Yeah, as a scene number, it's on my bottoming playlist. Always has been.
You can do a whole thing to "I Sit on Acid" where the only line is "Sit on my face."
That's it. Yeah.
I sit on acid. Yeah.
Yep.
Like I said, I grew up when we talked about before. I grew up a '90s rave, New York City. Yeah. Lords of Acid were very much in it. Okay, recommend a book.
Books is, let's see. Well, I don't do a lot of books. I don't have a lot of time to sit and read them. I do have a few favorite authors, though. The late Tom Clancy was a favorite of mine. Okay. I love actually being taken somewhere in these books to some of these exotic locales and listen to them shoot people, I guess. I don't know. And then Cussler is another favorite of mine. So like they've turned a few of his into movies, like Sahara was one of his, the McConaughey flick.
Recommend a television
show. Doctor Who, always a favorite TV show.
Yeah. You like the new serial one?
Yes, I do. Archer. Archer's a favorite. Phrasing is one of our favorite little terms that we say all the time because the innuendo is strong amongst a group of kinksters. and NCIS. That's been as far as modern goes. No one can deny the effects that Polly Perrette as Abby Shuto has had for the BDSM community because she has made wearing collars cool as a forensic scientist who wears collars all the time. So,
one thing about Archer, though, back up to Archer, is that Pam is one of my favorite characters. Like, she is amazing.
Definitely, yes.
Such a good character. Okay, recommend a meal.
Steak. Okay. Yes, steak and potatoes. I am that kind of girl. I want the protein. I want the taters. Yes. Yeah, as you might can imagine, I'm from my accent, I'm heavy on the Appalachian American. So I'm big on meat and taters. And not that way, but that way too, actually. So yes.
Okay, now we're coming to the end. This is the word association game.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to say a word or a phrase. You say the first word or phrase that comes into your head.
Oh, this will be fun.
Yeah. So if I say chastity, you may say lock. But let's say you're thinking about steak, and I say chastity, and you can say steak. That's rule number one. You say the first thing that comes to your head. Don't overthink. Got it. Okay. The second rule is we don't kink shame. So I'm gonna say a bunch of kinky stuff, and if you're not into it, instead of please don't make fun of it or act disgusted, just say not my thing. Okay.
Got it.
Yeah, that's the second rule. Just so you know, I'm doing this off the top of my head too, so we're on the same playing field.
Awesome.
And then there's the jar.
The jar.
Tangle Blue, I love you. Tangle Blue is she's into kitten play. She is essential to your kinky friends. I love her so much. She's from Kentucky, and she's a Southerner, and kinky as can be. When she has a wonderful, we both have a very absurd and weird sense of humor, and she sent me this jar, and it's filled with little pieces of paper with stuff written on it. Some of it's kink related, some of it's nonsense. I don't know. So, and I don't know what I'm pulling out of this jar. Okay.
Nice.
All right. Ready to go?
I'm ready when you are.
All right. All right. Corsets.
Boning.
The Hitachi magic wand.
Buzz.
The violet wand.
Sparks.
The St. Andrew's cross.
Pain.
Face slapping.
Fun.
Wax play.
Fire.
Needle play.
Blood.
Blood play.
Red.
All right. Fisting.
Fisting. Brown.
The St. Andrew's cross.
Back to pain.
Strap-on dildos.
His and hers.
Imagine like in the bathroom, they're just hanging up like like towels.
Seen that before. That's exactly where my mind went. I was at a customer's house doing a dungeon install, and I seen that in their bathroom. It's a his and hers thing with a his and hers strap on. I'm like, yes. I need to y'all. So yes, continue. Sorry.
Right. St. Andrew's cross.
Andrew's cross chain.
Splashing.
Tarp.
All right. Branding.
Sizzle.
Pet play.
Woof.
Sissies.
Frills.
Okay. Pagan sacrifice rituals.
Pentagram.
Oh, okay. Waterboarding.
Boring. Gurgle.
Nipple clamps.
Pinchy.
Rope.
Burn.
Okay. Riding crops.
Slap.
Floggers.
Thud.
Public humiliation.
Glance.
What?
Glancing.
Okay.
I could picture what I wanted to say. I just couldn't get it out.
That works. That works. All right. The 50s housewife dynamic.
Petticoat.
Ooh, interesting. All right. The daddy baby girl dynamic.
Kitten.
Diaper play.
Pacifier.
The strict stepmother dynamic.
Ruler.
Ooh, okay. We're going into the jar.
Uh-oh, here comes the jar.
Sweet dick.
Oh, let's see. It's a good one. Nothing comes to mind on that one. Maybe cookie jar.
Okay. Carrots.
Carrots. Yeah, pervertible.
All right. Mew, mew, mew.
Kitten play.
Okay. Ooh. Shock.
Oh, violet wand. Yes.
Okay. Cock.
Balls.
Dick pic.
Unsolicited.
Okay. Spread eagle.
Spread eagle sleep.
Oh, okay.
Yes. One of my favorite sleeping positions.
Well, on the stomach or on the back?
On the back. But I'll take the stomach if that's what I've got.
Okay. Water sports, aka piss play.
Yellow River.
And finally, we have reached the end, and that is a pun. Scat.
Scat. Oh, scat. That is I made brown. Oh.
Naughtia, Fleur, you have been an absolute wonderful guest. Please take this time to plug everything and anything you want, whether it's social media, whether it's FetLife, whether it's your business, whether it's events you're going to be at, what the support groups, the parties, everything. Go.
Everything. All right, well, here goes everything. By all means, look me up, heartwoodsfurniture.com. You'll find me on Facebook as Naughtia LaFleur. That is my burlesque dancer, fire dancer profile, and obviously kinky. I don't really have things that are not kinky. Look me up on FetLife, Naughtia_LaFleur. You'll find links on that page to the most upcoming Grey Wolf's Den events. You'll also find events there in groups for acceptance, which is one of my support groups in Asheville, and you'll find other information there about the support services that I do here. You'll also see things about Naugtia's Toy Box, which is my scene house that's opening hopefully very soon into the first quarter of 2020, and then. Going to get back on Twitter based on your recommendation. So that is at Naughtia F. And you'll also find me as on gamer streams. It's Mistress in Leet Speak, which is M15TR355_N. You'll find me on Twitch. You'll find me on some of the other little gamer fun things. I'm usually up there making a fool of myself playing Beat Saber on VR. So, yes, let's see. What else is going on coming up here? I'll be at any Grey Wolf's Den event, and obviously the Toy Box event's coming up. So, yes, find me there. Find me at Risque Monday, which is our local haunt here in Asheville for the burlesque front. It's hosted at the Auditorium, which is an amazing little venue that is open to everything. And we even have some local play parties there that you might also find me at. Some public parties. Perversions Domination is another one that's in Asheville. And some of my friends there who are also toy builders, we definitely have a lot of fun with that. So, but yeah, one of my biggest hubs of communication is FetLife. So look me up there, and yeah, I hope to see all of the kinksters.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Please stay on the line after we're done. I just want to talk to you. We'll talk with
Absolutely.
you for a couple seconds. And in the meantime, everybody can find me at yourkinkyfriends.com. We have a Discord chat group, which is really fun and growing. It ebbs and flows. Sometimes it's real busy. Sometimes it's kind of, but it just goes up and down. You can find me on Facebook at Nicholas Tanek. Find me on Twitter at Nicholas Tanek. And then there's at Friends Kinky and at Friends Kinky on Instagram, and then I'm at Nick Tanek on Instagram. But I'm not really feeling Instagram because they're taking down a lot of the sex stuff. And,
Yeah.
But on FetLife, Your Kinky Friends, post all the groups. Please feel free to reach out for me. Send me a message. I love talking with everybody. Check out Orc Girl by the great Amy Mercury, and support the local burlesque performers and photographers and toys and furniture makers. Support all that. Oh, it's getting late. My Dom is calling me. Remember the cardinal rule: be cool, be kind, and keep an open mind.
What he said.
Take care.